Hey, what's up YouTube? Mike here with Drop a Gear. I have another video for you today. We're going to be working on my 2014 GL 1800 Goldwing. It's due for the 12,000 mile air filter replacement. I looked online all over to see if I could find anything on the forums or anything like that. Couldn't really find anything, so I went ahead and I purchased an OEM Honda service manual. Should have did this a long time ago, to be honest, for the bike. I plan on keeping it for many years. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger. If anyone's interested in one of these service manuals, I mean, it gives you obviously everything top to bottom on the bike. Bolts, torque specifications, exact procedures for teardowns, literally everything. So we're gonna do the air filter by the book, literally step by step, even if it ends up us having to remove a little bit more of the bodywork than normal. This might be a little bit of a longer video. I think this is typically known to take a little bit some time. So this is my first time ever doing it on this bike. It shouldn't be a problem, and once we do it the first time, then I'll know for the second time what components we can cut out, like for instance what bodywork may not need to be removed but it calls for it by the repair manual. So we're gonna go ahead and get this started. As usual, I'm always using OEM Honda parts, and we'll go ahead and get the tools pulled out and we'll rock and roll. Alright guys, so for our first steps, we're going to be removing the side covers and the whole seat. The goal is to get, they say from what I've read in the little pre-facing, they said that we have to remove the whole gas tank to get to the air filter box. I'm hoping that we can just swing it up and do the work, swing it up and do the work kind of in here, because I know the air filter box is going to be nice and low. It should be like right around this area. So I already have the sides pulled off. These just use little rubber grommets. So boom, you pull that first side off, and then I have the second side off as well. You can see they're just held on by rubber grommets. Make sure that you're not missing them. The next step's gonna be, we're gonna have to remove the seat. So it says this should be pretty simple. There's just some bolts, which I've already pre-tested. These are 5mm, so I have my 5mm T-handle right there. And then once we get that back seat off, there's gonna be a couple more bolts on the main seat, and then we should be able to just lift up and remove this rearward. So let's get that going, and then we'll get back to it. Alright guys, so we got the side covers and the seat off. Pretty simple. Like I mentioned earlier, there's going to be two 5mm bolts in the back. Go ahead and remove those, and the rear seat will slide forward. And then you'll have just the front seat, and then again you're going to have two 5mm again. Remove those, and then the seat will unhook from right here. You see is the mounting point on the tank. So again, you can just lift up and move it backwards. We'll go ahead and get the next step rolling. So our next step is going to be to remove the fuel filler tray, which is essentially that bezel that goes around the gas cap on the top of the tank. And then we're also going to be, it says it calls to remove the radiator cowls. So we'll be taking those off. So those are pretty much like the side pod covers for the radiators. And I see that in this diagram, the location where the key goes to pop the gas cap right here. It was not on that diagram, so I'm assuming this will need to be removed first too. It's interesting. I don't know if you've never read a service manual, you'll understand that pretty much you have to bounce around the whole book. It'll say, like for instance right here, like refer to page 2-4, and then you go there, and then it's like, all right, refer to the next page. So we'll go ahead and we'll keep rolling, and once we get these off, I mean, so far it's been smooth sailing. Once we get these off, we should not really be too much further away from getting the tank at least lifted. All right, guys. All right, so we were able to get this top cover off. I wanted to go ahead and give a quick update. I'm not doing this live because it's really hard to work and hold the camera with the same hand. So here's the panel. I'll leave it back up here. When you pop the gas cap lid, there's going to be two little push pins right here. So I just used this simple little pointed tool to just pop them in and then pull them out. And then there's going to be 3 number 5 bolts. So there's one here on the back, and there's going to be one on each side on the front. Go ahead and remove those. And then once I had it removed, I just lifted from the back and kind of just moved it around, wiggled it, because obviously these grommets kind of are holding it in place. Pulled up a little bit, and popped it off. No problem. So far here is our list. Here's the push pins I was talking about. It's very standard. You just push on the inside, that relieves it, and then you can just, with your hands, if you need or a tool, just pull it right out. So obviously, I'm sure as you guys know, organization is key, so make sure you know where all your bolts go so you don't end up with a couple bolts or nuts or clips when you're done with this and you don't know where they go. So apparently, according to the book, it says that we can just leave this as is for now. So the next step we're going to be working on is removing this panel like I described to you. So here it is right here, the radiator side panel. Looks like we're going to have just essentially some clips, a couple more bolts, and then we definitely need to get right here. This is what releases the actual fuel door mechanism. So I'll go ahead and get that disassembled, and then I'll show you in the real world how it went. So I went ahead and got the fuel side cover off. Fairly straightforward. There's going to be right here where you see that hole, the hole right here. Let's see, put it down. There's going to be, there's a trend going on, 5mm bolt. So you go ahead and remove that, and then it's going to be held on with just clips after that. So let's see, if you look right here in the diagram, you'll see where my thumb is. Here's our 5mm bolt, and then the rest is going to be clips. I'll show you that on the back side. You'll see those white guys, 2 on the bottom, and then these are just like little guide pins that help it stay into place along the side. So once you get that 5mm out, you can go ahead and reach underneath, and it's gonna feel like it might be breaking, but it's not. You can go ahead and just give it like a little snap, kind of like a pull towards you, a quick snap, and that'll pop it out. And then once you have it out, just fish it out from all of its little connections, and then you'll see on the back side, this is the actual cable for the door. It goes right there. So what I did was, let me turn this around. As you can see, there's like a slot for it to come out. I went ahead and I put my little pointed tool right up there, was able to push it up and then fish it out, just like kind of any standard cable like that. So that's pretty simple. The next step, like I was mentioning a little bit earlier, is we should be able to get these side pod radiator covers off. And I know I said it before, but get to actually lifting the tank up. Alright guys, so after reading a little bit more further into the details, I made a mistake. We actually did have to remove this whole fuel lid assembly. This wasn't too bad. It was a little tricky though, kind of like finagling it. Okay, so essentially there's just gonna be clips kind of all around the piece. These photos really aren't the best, like especially this one, but you're gonna see there's gonna be some clips. Go ahead and push those out, and then essentially you'll see here's some like 2 more, 1, 2, and then there's gonna be 1 on the side. So there's gonna be a couple up here, and essentially I was then able to shift it forward. I also pushed out, let me see, right there. So I also pushed out the holder for the gas cap to leave that on there. And then, yeah, and then once you get it up, you can go ahead, and it's the same principle that we did down there. Just go ahead and unhook it from its little home right there. And then this piece will just come off as a whole assembly. All right, so our next operation is gonna be to remove these side radiator cowls. Let's see, remove the radiator side panel, which we already did. Remove the following. So these setting bolts, as you can see, Boom, those number 1 top setting bolts, and then the other one's the number 3s. So there's the picture of the diagram for you guys. I'll go ahead and get these popped off, and if anything gives me any hiccups, I will give you an update. Here's how the bike looks as of now. So we have that side cover off down here. We got the whole bezel off of the top of the tank, the side panels, and the seats. Here's our parts list so far. Alright, so I was able to get this first side cover off. This was everything that came out of it. Essentially, it was just one silver screw that's on the top that you see here. There's going to be 3. These are all 5mm as well. So there's going to be 3 other ones on the bottom. You'll see right here. Then you're going to have these push pins. They line the whole inner. So like literally on the inside of it, you'll see it. There's going to be 6 of them or 7 of them, something like that. Here they are. So here's the bike without the side cover on. To give you some reference, so here was the first black one, second black one, and then there was a third one tucked under here. You go ahead and remove your upper silver one from the cowl, get the rest of your push pins popped out, and then it's going to be held on by this grommet as well. So go ahead and pull it out. Kind of the same thing with all the other panels. You know, just give it a swift pull, and it'll pop out as a whole unit. So here's the first cowl. As you can see, that's how it comes out. Pretty simple so far. It's just a little tedious working with all these plastic components. So then I'll go ahead and get and as you can see, there's really no way avoiding it. I heard people online saying that they did this job without removing these side pods, and I can now tell you 100% it's BS, because they're obviously connected to the tank. This is a bracket on the metal tank, so there's no way of doing this job without removing the side panel covers. So it's going to be the same on the other side. I'll go ahead and get that done, and then we'll keep on rocking. All right, everybody, so here is a quick update. I went ahead and popped off the other side cowl on this side. So that's been done, same as you've already seen on this side. I went back to our book, and it looks like we're good to go. So to lift the fuel tank, remove both side covers, which we did, the main seat, which we did, the fuel filler tray, which we did, had to take off the whole thing like I mentioned earlier, both radiator cowls, and now we're going to go ahead and remove the bolts, washers, and collars. So there's the diagram. These are going to be 12mm. You can see them right there. So we're going to have 1 and 2. So we'll go ahead and go to our toolbox. So we're going to need a 12mm. I know this extension will work with it, and then our ratchet. Okay. And this book doesn't tell what tools you need and when the job begins, so I'll go ahead and give that a quick rundown so far. I've used this heavily, this 5mm T-handle. I have a just standard Phillips, I don't know what size this is, a number 3 I believe, Phillips. Now we have our ratchet, an extension to get down there, 12mm socket. This is just like a body panel tool that I was using to remove the clips, makes it easy, and then this I was using to pop the clips and remove them as well. I mean, if it was all there. So far the tools hasn't been much. This is the moment of truth when we raise this tank up, and hopefully we can, you know, if you see in the photo, it shows they're supporting it with like a mallet, a little rubber mallet right there just to lift it up. So I mean, honestly, if there's enough room for us to just lift it, maybe use like a bungee cord or something and be able to just do the work without having to like, because they're talking about the next step is you have to like pretty much remove the fuel line from the tank and like depressurize the system. And like I don't mind doing it, but I don't want to, because you have to put a rag underneath there, and there's definitely going to be gasoline coming like out of that like valve when you like release it. So hopefully we can just do the work without having to do all that, but we'll see. I'll go ahead and get this up and see what we have, how much room we have. All right, guys. So after further investigation, I was able to get the tank up. As you can see, underneath it, there's your air box right there. That plastic you can see tucked away. And this is literally about as high as the tank can go right here. Using just a oil filtering tool to prop it up, because it hits right here, it'll pinch. So I mean, there's another 1/4 inch to lift it up. AKA no way to work with it. So we're gonna have to go ahead and do it by the book, and it says that we're gonna be removing this whole fuel tank. It says, I'll show you on the book real quick. The next step is we need to relieve the fuel pressure. So we have the tank lifted, and now we need to disconnect this 3-pin connector. You can see it right there. And that's for the fuel pump. And then we're gonna start the engine and let it idle until the engine stalls. So I already went ahead and did that. Here is our 3-pin connector. For reference, it's right next to the mounting spot for the tank. I went ahead and pulled it out. These can be a little tricky. So what you do, let me see, this little tab, you just simply put, see, I was trying to push it, which I thought was the right way, but no, you pull it, you lift it. So put just a little, I used a little pick, just put it underneath there, lift it, and you can slide this right out. As you can see, that cable goes to the fuel pump right there. So now this is up. We're gonna go ahead and let the bike idle until it stalls, and then should be able to disconnect that line right there that you see. That's gonna be the fuel line. We'll disconnect that with a shop towel, and then we're gonna go ahead and muscle this tank off. Hopefully it doesn't fight us too much to get it off. I might need a second person to help me lift this up. We'll see. All right, so I went ahead and did the procedure as told. I unplugged the 3-pin like we mentioned for the fuel pump, and I went to go fire up the bike, and it didn't start. It just cranked and cranked. I'm assuming that's because the bike's been sitting here for over a day, so there was no pressure built up in the lines that was needed to build down. Anyway, so the next step was to remove the actual fuel line. So as you see, you simply pull this tab out, and then at that point I wrapped it with a paper towel, and then you slide it out. So I can show you right here. It's off, it's not leaking, so there you can see that's where it came off of. I just used a small pick, let me get under there. I just used a small pick to pull that tab out, and then here's the hose right here. Also, it doesn't mention it in the book, but I noticed this little tab also holds the hose. You're gonna want to remove that so you can set the hose down when we take the tank off. All right, so we'll go to the next step. Okay, so the next step that we're gonna be working on is removing the evap canister hose and this fuel tank drain hose. So as you can see, they're gonna be right here. Let's see, so we have one, and then we have the other one. As you can see, there's like little posts. You'll see them there. This one on the passenger side of the motorcycle, the right side, it has a little like metal band clip on it. So I just went ahead and used a set of needle nose to bring that down. This one fought me a little bit, but I went ahead and got those removed. So here's the first one on the right side, as you can see, and I went ahead and just removed that little clip, and I put it in the bottom right corner. And then same on the right side. You can kind of see it if it focuses. Over here, that hose right where my finger's pointing is disconnected from that post right there. Let's see, right here. This is disconnected from right there. All right, so our next step, let's see, after we remove those, bolts, washers, fuel tank, and collar. All right, so 3. So we're gonna be removing these front bolts on the tank, and then we're gonna be able to lift this thing off as a whole. And I'm gonna set it right here. I had ended up putting some cardboard down for the seat and stuff because I'm gonna put the tank right there. All right, well, wish me luck. Let's. Well, actually, it said something about the inner fenders as well, so I think we need to remove these. Let me take a look at that, and then I'll see if those need to come off. Well, it's safe to say that we made it, guys. The gas tank is now off of the motorcycle. First time ever gonna do that with a tank of gas like this. I think I had about a half a tank in it, so it was probably at least 2.5 gallons. I was able to get it off myself, no problem. The one thing I will say is I definitely recommend to lower it down. I made that mistake. Nothing in the manual said about lowering it down, but so lower it down, and then you'll see right here there's gonna be this is gonna be a number 8. There's gonna be 2 number 8s, so one here, one on the other side. Go ahead and take those out. Once it's out, the tank will just kind of rest down on the frame. There's like these like little pads on it to protect it. I'm gonna wipe everything down while everything's apart just to kind of freshen everything up. But here's our airbox. This is gonna be pretty standard. I'll still do it by the book, but these look like number 8s to me. I'm gonna go ahead and get this popped off, and we'll see how the original air filter looks. This is the one that came from the factory, so we'll see how dirty it is. So here we have it. Got the air filter off. It was no problem once we were there. Simply remove these. These were number 8s. I did have to switch over. I used this little D-walt right here with this small 8mm on it, 1/4 inch. So you pop those off, and then right here, if you see, there's going to be a sensor. They call it an IAT, intake air temperature. Pop that off, and then you can just pull the whole top of the airbox off. I already kind of wiped it down. I'm gonna give it a better wiping down on the outside, and then the inside actually is extremely clean, as you can see. That hasn't been touched. It just looks that good. Here's our filter. Pretty dirty for sure. Some bugs trapped in there, so it's definitely doing its job. Let's see if we lift it up. Boom. There's gonna be your throttle bodies. There's literally like 0 debris in there. This air filter definitely did its job. Look at this, let's see. The backside has this little mesh on it. Can't see much, but it's definitely really dirty. All right, guys, well, that pretty much wraps it up. I have the air filter here. I can give you the part number. So 17210 Michael Charlie Alpha Alpha 60. This is the MSRP that you're going to be. This is what my dealer apparently was charging. I got it for much cheaper than that. But so here's the filter. We're going to go ahead and get that popped out. Get it put in. Pretty sweet. In case anyone's never seen them, I mean, those things they look brass. Pretty sweet. The little risers on them to give you that they're like little velocity stacks. Pretty sweet. So obviously install will be the reverse of what we just did. It shouldn't be too bad. It's crazy we just did all that work to pull off the tank and everything to literally take 1 minute to open that up and put a new filter in, and now we're about to be going back together. Well, good luck, guys. I hope this helped. Just remember to take your time. Make sure you have the tools, and this job. It's not bad. I mean, really, you can definitely handle it by yourself if you have a little bit of confidence and have the tools. Definitely need the tools that you are going to use. A little recap. So let's see. I really didn't add anything else. Like I said, I also before I did or after the fuel pump stuff, I disconnected the negative battery just for some safety. So if you want to do that, feel free. And good luck, guys. Talk to you later.